Hey all, my name's Ross, and today my design principle presentation is going to be on Fitt's Law. So let's jump right into it. Fitt's Law in its simplest form states that the time required to move to a target is a function of the target size and distance to the target. Fitt's Law is widely applied across design, especially in UX and UI design. It's the basis for making buttons larger, especially on mobile devices, and it also explains why smaller buttons are more difficult and time-consuming to click. So Fitt's law isn't just some random law, it's a theory with a mathematical equation behind it. So the equation isn't necessary to know exactly and use every time, but it's important to know that Fitt's law is a mathematical equation that is backed by math. And right here we have the equation. So time is the amount of time required to complete the movement. A and B are empirically determined. So this is values that you can gain from direct observation. And A and B basically build a slope. Um, distance is the measurement from a starting point to the end point, so to the target object. And then width, of course, is the width of the target object. And basically the idea is, as we said, the quicker you can reach a target object, the more convenient and easy it is to use. So right into our first example, I want to look at operating systems. So Mac OS and Windows both use magic pixels, so corners and edges of screens, where you can quickly click a button without needing to focus too much on where you need to click, because the cursor stops at the edge of the screen. So even though the Apple icon might seem a little small, it's actually pretty easy to go to. And then once you click on the button, you can see that all the other selections are right below where your cursor already is. So it's going to be easy to select an element after that. It's not like the display panel pops up in the center of the screen, and then you have to bring your cursor all the way over there. And then I looked at a website. This is chubbyshorts.com. Uh, this example works really well because of the site layout. You can see that top right, you have the cart, top left, you have the menu, bottom right, you have customer service, and then you have your Prime button in the middle. That whole image is a button, and they even clarify that because when you scroll over it, there's an animation. It's nice and big. I mean, that's going to be really clickable. But that being said, bigger isn't always better. This is a graph I like to show because when you think of increase and decrease, you think of a linear graph, but the usability and the size of a button is actually a non-linear relationship. So if you make a small button 10% larger, it will become much more clickable. But if you make an already very large button 10% larger, you're actually not going to gain much in terms of usability. So it just shows that's a non-linear relationship. I also looked at google.com. This is a good example of prime pixel. So Google's designers knowing the most important action is going to be search. They put it right dead center of the screen. Uh, it didn't need to be too large. As you know, it's pretty easy to click, and that's what you're going to be using most of the time. It's right in the prime spot in the center of the screen. And I wanted to find a bad example. This is brooklynclothing.com. So basically, the main button to the store, you want that to be super clickable. And this is actually a super small button uh, compared to the display of the website. So it's actually going to take some time to get to the shop button because it's so small. The only thing it really has going for it is that it is centered. So the slope's not going to be too bad when instead of it being off to the side. And then you also want to think about Fitt's law for mobile. Of course, on mobile, there's no mouse. So you're going to depend on the user's fingers, and this depends how the user holds the phone. And you usually use the thumb for natural positions, and then from there it kind of stretches, and then there's areas left and right-handed where it hurts to hold to try and click certain spots. So I looked at iOS, probably one of the most relevant examples if you have an iPhone. You have the most easily accessible buttons right by your thumb at the bottom, and then the rest of the app icons are nice and big, with a lot of spacing between them so you don't accidentally click something else. So in summary, the basic logic of Fitt's law is that it insists that meaningful action should consume meaningful space, and this cannot be ignored. Uh, a designer who takes advantage of Fitt's law in usability testing or research will discover valuable information that can directly impact the success of a website. And you can also use Fitt's law to defend design decisions or introduce a suggestion to relocate certain interface elements when planning a site redesign. Thank you. That's it. I've been Ross. That was my presentation.